All right, back again for another episode of the Lowdown Sports Show. This show is brought to you by the Basketball Podcast Network, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Drew,
I'm BJ.
And
and
I'm
we're here. Go ahead, Coach.
sorry,
Coco.
and I'm Coach Tripp, joining as a guest. Excited to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
And we're
Absolutely.
all here to get the lowdown on all things basketball, all things March Madness, as a matter of fact. Episode 29 in here, edition in season 3 of the lowdown. Coming in here with the Coach Trip, our aforementioned Coach Trip from the previous episode of college basketball with Tyler. This is his co-host right here, ladies and gentlemen. So that extra voice that you hear, and if you're watching, you see over on Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch, wherever you're watching at. That is the new co-host of the Lowdown College Basketball. Welcome in, Coach. We're glad to have you a part of the team.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to talk about college basketball and March Madness.
Oh yes, and there's been a lot of madness already. That's going to be the main topic of discussion today. Of course, we got BJ's best though still on tap. BJ's ready and roaring with that.
Absolutely. Yep.
What's on Drew's mind? Of course, a lot of things, but something specific today. And our favorite game, With It or Quit It, and BJ's at the helm at that once again. So, without further ado, when that guy's ready, that BJ guy, we'll get it going.
This guy?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm ready. I've been ready. And Drew, we're
Mm.
going to start things off with the opening round of the NCAA men's bracket. We had some pretty cool, crazy finishes in the first four, but outside of really the Pitt and Mississippi State game, we had a couple of we just had a couple of teams that flexed their muscles and proved that they were the better team. Texas A&M Corpus Christi taking down Southeast Missouri State. Pitt with a buzzer beater essentially in the final 10 seconds to beat Mississippi State. Those games played Tuesday night. And then last night you had Fairleigh Dickinson shooting the lights out and ending Texas Southern's miracle under 500 run to the NCAA tournament, as well as Arizona State. It seemed like they couldn't miss, Coach, when in that win over Nevada last night.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how these teams prepare and get ready, for the tournament. And of course, if you're in a playing game, it's do or die, all hands on deck. And certainly they shot the lights out and gave themselves a chance to move on. And as we saw with some of the games today, once you make the tournament, anything can happen. So you certainly can't buy too much into who's favored, who's got the better seed, because if you're not on your game, you can get knocked out just that quick.
Yeah, and I'm a TCU fan, so that was the matchup I was not wanting. I was hoping that we'd have a little bit of an easier path with Nevada. I know they play good defense, but Arizona State, they played the same kind of style of basketball we do, and it's going to be a track meet for 40 minutes come Friday night. But what we saw on Thursday were a couple of track meets that came down to the very end with the first game, Maryland and West Virginia, the 8-9 matchup up there in the South region of the bracket. And Coach, West Virginia started strong. They got off to a big lead, but Maryland, feisty as ever, the Terrapins come back and are able to make a late push in the second half to get the victory and move on to the second round.
Yeah, it was interesting. West Virginia jumps out to, I believe, a 12-point lead in the first half, and it looked like they had every chance to put it away. And really, obviously, you felt like Maryland was going to make a run and get back in it, which they did. But really, I think what kind of doomed West Virginia wasn't anything as far as what Maryland did. It was some poor decisions on rushing some shots and taking questionable shots and fouls late in that game that kind of I thought was the difference. And Maryland escaped with that victory, and credit to them. They kept fighting, hung around, but I really thought West Virginia had every opportunity to win that game and made some mental errors, I think, that cost them. And when they watch film next couple of days, I think they'll see that and just be sick about it.
And Reese from Maryland, he had a good game. And you were talking about the opportunities. He missed 3 straight free throws, and West Virginia couldn't capitalize off of that.
Yeah, and another thing with, and what I'm not going to try to go too far out of order, but, Alabama took care of A&M Corpus Christi as everyone expected. No real surprise there. And for Alabama, seeing Maryland on that in that matchup in the second round as opposed to West Virginia has to feel a lot better for the Tide, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people are surprised that even though Maryland was the higher seed, kind of surprised that they ended up winning that game. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if you're Alabama, you're certainly feel better about your chances. Look, I think Alabama is so talented that they're going to win whomever they played. But I think that this probably gives them a little breathing room and certainly an easier path than maybe West Virginia would have. Particularly, not only are you playing that team on the floor, but you've got a Hall of Fame coach over there with Bob Huggins that now you don't have to deal with. So certainly they've got to breathe easier after Maryland knocks off West Virginia.
Absolutely. And when you said go back and watch film if you're West Virginia, another team that is going to be just absolutely sick when they watch the film is the team we're about to see because of the sequence that transpired at the end of the game, and that would be the Virginia Cavaliers.
With Cedric are their best free throw shooters. Clark in a straight jacket. Oh, he didn't need to do that. He threw it away. Ping, Pettis. Thurman leads. Timeout, Virginia. Did we just see what we think we just saw? Wow.
Definitely a shocker in the South region with the Paladins getting the gift of all gifts, if you will, in terms of the bad pass, throwaway, and getting that great three to end up beating Virginia.
And that guy hadn't made much all game either, and he knocked down the biggest shot of the night.
Yeah,
the biggest
interesting.
shot of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he had hit a three all game. Interestingly
Yeah,
enough,
first one.
they had to know that the trap was coming, but they had a timeout still left that they could have used. And I think if you reverse out of that trap, it's a much easier pass, and then you force them to foul you. But instead, he I'm not sure exactly what he was thinking. Maybe he thought he could get it all the way down court, but it did not happen. And you're exactly right about them being sick watching film, because this game was theirs to win. They were if they handle that inbound, they're going to move on. They're going to win. And we're talking about who they play next. Rather, now we're talking about what a crazy sequence of events that ended up giving the game. They gave the game over on that, and what a ice cold 3-point shot. As we said, he hadn't made one all game, had really been shooting pretty poorly, and boom, hits that. Now, they did have 2.2 seconds left to try and answer. Certainly the odds are not in your favor when that happens, but it didn't all come down to that one play. Both teams had chances throughout the game to try to put it away, and they were so evenly matched that it came down to that play and then the 2.2 seconds afterwards.
Yeah, and so Virginia got an inbound to half court, got a good look, and it hit off the backboard and the rim, but it did not fall. And so that ended up being the end of the season for Virginia. So now the last four tournaments, Coach, if they're not making it out of the first round, they're winning the NCAA tournament. They've lost three of their last four games, or three of their last four times in the NCAA tournament in the first round, going back to 2018 when they got upset by UMBC as the 1 seed. So it's a all or nothing kind of approach for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, I think you just really can't underestimate how significant it is when you play against these teams that you haven't seen before, that have contrasting styles. And I think that's what makes this tournament kind of the best sporting event, in my opinion, in the world, because you get matched up with teams that maybe you have better athletes than, you may have a more experienced coaching staff, but it comes down to making plays. And, sometimes that works against you, and it becomes even more tough now because now you have even less time to prepare moving on, whether you were the underdog who got the upset or you were the team that was supposed to win, because now you only have a day or so to prepare, and not even that, because you may be waiting to see who's going to win, and then you got to try and put a game plan together. Obviously, I'm sure they've able to look at tape and say it's going to be one of these two teams, that kind of thing, have some sort of game plan, but you haven't got to rep it, you haven't got to practice against it. So um, really it makes it a huge task for the coaches and teams.
Update
Absolutely.
on this bracket app here. Of the over 20 million men's brackets submitted, just 18,078 total are 8 for 8 so far. Good for
Man,
just 0.09% of ESPN entries.
that is crazy. That's some crazy stuff. So, in terms of Furman, they move on and they're going to get San Diego State, who survived what was a popular, trendy upset pick in College of Charleston, and that game was tied late. And Coach, you
Yeah.
and I we talked about it before the show. A little bit of a momentum in the last couple of minutes for San Diego State, and they get the benefit of a foul call that maybe they shouldn't have got, able to capitalize and survive a scare. So it'll be San Diego State taking on the Paladins in the second round.
Yeah, really, I think intriguing matchup there, and you nailed it there with the way that game was going, kind of back and forth. But you made a great point about San Diego State kind of already had that momentum, had the lead, and then when that 3 point shot, depending on how you saw it, it could have easily been a no call, but it goes against them and essentially kind of puts the game out of reach. If it is a no call, who knows what's going to happen. But to your point, San Diego had kind of ripped momentum away, had taken the lead, put themselves in a great position, and really the shot, almost went in anyway. So
Yeah,
just as likely as you could say it could have been a no call. That's true, but it also very easily could have been a made 3-pointer. But either way, as you said, San Diego State survives, moves on, and here we go with the matchup. I think that's going to be really exciting and really a little bit unorthodox. Two teams, facing each other that probably don't have any experience with each other.
absolutely. And I'm not going to ask for predictions since I know you and Tyler are going to be hopping on. As soon as everything in the first round is finalized, y'all are going to be heading doing an episode of y'all show together. But a lot of action in the South region has been going on today. But I'm going to shift gears and talk about the two games in the West region that have concluded. Kansas, no surprise, they were easily able to handle the Howard Bison, the 1/16. No real reason to go too far in depth on it, but their 8-9 matchup was a little bit surprising, a sloppy game from Arkansas, but they were able to win in really convincing fashion. Illinois just could not keep themselves in that game for a good majority of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. You get that Arkansas, coming out of the SEC, and they had really played well through most of the season, and then Illinois obviously having to go up against some of those juggernauts in that conference. But as you said, it wasn't really much of a game. Arkansas takes care of business, has to handle it. The one point I will make about the Kansas game, I think anybody who watched this knows, Bill Self was not there on the sideline. Obviously, he released from the hospital. He does think he or is hoping to maybe be there for the next game, but certainly that was the only thing that maybe would have given you a little bit of pause that how might that affect him, but obviously it didn't, and so they handled business.
And we're all obviously all three of us are hoping that he's okay. Obviously, he's been discharged in good spirits, good health, and like you said, Coach, he hopes to be back for their next matchup against Arkansas on Saturday. So we got two other. Do you have a point, Drew?
Sorry. Oh yeah, I remember exactly what we said, but we were talking. I think it was a with it or quit it question. Mm-hmm. Who was going to get the next win? Or who was going to get closer to 1,000 wins first? Bill Self or Huggins?
Calipari. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Huggins is already gone. Calipari and Self still in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kansas has won 3 times in the past week, but none of them go to Self because he wasn't the coach for those games.
So does he, by rule, does he not get credit for those victories?
No, those would go to I can't remember who he had.
His assistant.
Whoever was serving as head coach for that game will be credited with those. So, And last but not least, the kind of the stunning round, if you will, with a lot of intrigue with the in the South region. All of the upsets so far have come from the South region. Of course, when you play 6 games in the same region on one day out of the
Right.
first 8 that we've played, that seems to be where they're going to be. We'll start with the one that did go through. Here's how it sounded when the 15 seeded Princeton Tigers take out the second seeded Arizona Wildcats. This is the shot that gave them the lead for good.
Off the window for the lead.
Pretty quick. It was just a simple little lay-in with 2 minutes left, but Arizona could not buy a shot. They could not get anything to fall. The Princeton defense really suffocated them in that second half, especially in the final 10 minutes. And Tigers, just like it's the 90s all over again, when they took out UCLA, now they get another Pac-12 team in the Wildcats out in the first round.
I want to throw it back to the last episode once again. I had another one of those whether to quit it questions. Will the East have the most upsets? Then I mean they're gonna have to pull out a lot to pass what's going on in the South so far.
The West region is still early on. Maybe we'll see
Right.
some others. It's anybody's guess right now, but
Right.
the South region is off to a darn good start, huh, Coach?
Absolutely. This is what March Madness is all about. Is particularly, if you're a casual fan and you don't have a rooting interest, this is what you love to see. Is some of these teams coming in that on paper you would think have no business being in the tournament or certainly competing with a number 2 seed, and all of a sudden, boom, upset. I think that's what draws your casual fans back every year, and so it makes it so difficult. As we fill out our brackets and as we talk about predictions and things like that, because you just never know. It's a 1-game playoff every round, and so if one team is on, one team is off, or if you're able to, as a coach, determine some sort of wrinkle that you can do to take advantage of a weakness of the other team, boom, you're moving on, and that's what's so fantastic about this tournament. And I think that this is the best tournament, best playoff, however you want to call it, in all of sports. And I think we all look forward to it every year for this reason.
Absolutely. And the matchup that Princeton will face, the winner of Utah State and Missouri, and this was a close game back and forth. Both teams were really competitive, and then Missouri just flexed their muscle, proving how good of a season they've had in that SEC. And why a lot of people thought if Arizona was suspect, maybe it would be the Tigers of Missouri that get them. Instead, Princeton's Tigers get them in the first round. And so it'll be the 7-15 in the second round. What do you notice about Missouri, and how far of a run do you think they're able to make now? Does this open it up for them?
Well, certainly it opens it up. Once you get past that first round, it's a little bit of okay, we've handled business. We belong here, now, obviously, they're going to be on alert. The opponent they're playing has showed that they can play with anybody. So the difference, I think, that they'll have in preparation over, say, Kansas is they're not going to be surprised because they've just seen what happens if you take not that Kansas took them lightly, but there's no chance now that Missouri would overlook or take Princeton lightly because of what just happened. Look, Missouri's battle tested, playing in that SEC. So, yes, I think they can make a run. I don't know beyond this next round how much further they can go just because the competition is going to be stiff. But I certainly expect them to take Princeton out and then give themselves an opportunity to move on from there. But I don't see them making a very deep run. And no disrespect to Missouri, just, man, this field is deep and competitive, and I just don't know that they're there yet.
Absolutely. And final question for you, Coach, before we let you go. What are you looking forward to with tonight's matchups? What's the one that kind of intrigues you the most? Or where do you think there's a likelihood for an upset potentially? I guess you can answer all three of those.
Okay.
If they're different answers.
Yeah. Really and this is more just of a general first round thing. What I'm most intrigued about in the first round and going forward, so it's sort of dodging your question a little bit, but I'm really impressed right now with well, let me preface this because it'll make what I'm about to say even more significant. Maybe I'm a diehard North Carolina fan. Obviously, they're not in it.
Mhm.
Don't deserve to be in it. That's not my argument. The Duke Blue Devils, who I detest with every fiber of my being. Coming into this, they've won 9 in a row, including the ACC championship. I think they are playing as well as anybody right now outside of maybe Alabama. So I think what I'm looking forward to is really see what Duke can do. And any other year, I would be saying I don't care what Duke does. I hope they lose. But right now, just because they didn't start off all that well at the beginning of the year, and all of a sudden now they've turned it on. They're peaking, I think, at the right time, and I think that's something I want to follow. Just because you hear that phrase so often, are they peaking at the right time? That kind of thing, and they've given themselves every opportunity, put themselves in a great spot. So, really, the rest of the tournament, obviously, I'm going to follow my bracket, and as everyone is, but that's really the Duke is really what I'm most intrigued with, just because. Early in the season, midway through the season, I was not impressed by them. And I could have chalked it up, okay, new coach, final Hall of Famer, but boom, they've turned it on, rallied, and I'm pretty excited to see what they can do.
Absolutely, and I think they're fully healthy at the right time as well, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, they definitely are, and let's see what they can do. And my son, I don't know if he's watching this or not. He's a diehard Duke fan, and this is probably the first time he's ever heard me praise or give them any kind of unwarranted credit. But here we go.
He's gonna talk you into watching the games with him.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They were a popular upset pick because a lot of people have a lot of faith in that Oral Roberts squad coming in as the 12 seed. But right now it's been all Duke to the tune of 11-0 lead early on in this game.
First play of the game, they had shot a 3, got the rebound, tried to drive inside, big block off the glass, pinned it off the glass. I was like, oh, this is how the game is starting for them. It's going to be that type of game. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and
Coach,
we haven't had a 12-5 upset yet, so it's not going to be this one, but hopefully we'll see.
Be on the lookout for Drake tomorrow. I'm telling you, we talked about it Sunday night, and you if you remember, Drew, Tyler and I told you to watch out for Furman. What happened?
Yeah.
So
hey, I got him on my other bracket, and that's not the one.
as
not
long
the
as
one
you
in
got
our
one
group.
Bracket at least, right?
Right.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you hopping on with us. If you want to hang around and kind of get some notes to help you fill out your women's bracket, that's what's going to be on tap here in just a minute. But we appreciate you, and we'll be looking forward to you and Tyler tuned in and talking everything first round tomorrow night.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm gonna jump off and go watch some more first round action. But thanks so much for having me, and I will talk to you guys later.
Yes,
absolutely,
sir.
Coach Tripp in the building, and we always are appreciative of you hopping on, my friend. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All righty, gang.
Yeah, that was a good stuff, Drew. Good stuff from Coach Triplett, and I'm excited to see he and Tyler on the mics together and their first official episode of the Lowdown CBB together tomorrow night.
All right, the Lowdown college basketball, man, getting in full swing.
Absolutely,
man, and it's almost time to get some women's action in full swing tomorrow. BJ, they're gonna get going with action.
The first 4 have been going on yesterday and today, or I think the second day of first 4 games is on right now, actually.
And ladies started a little bit earlier than the guys started today. They're starting at 10:30.
Okay.
10:30 tomorrow is the first games tip off. Indiana and whoever wins this first 4 matchup tonight, and South Florida versus Marquette. That might.
So whoever wins that matchup tonight has to play tomorrow.
Oh wait, sorry, take that back. Take that back.
Saturday?
That's Saturday. Yeah, their date is different. South Florida and Marquette do play tomorrow at 10:30 though.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, we're gonna talk about that here in just a moment. But Drew, I want to shift things up a little bit since I got to kind of host this first little installment. I want to find out what's on Drew's mind tonight first before we do BJ's best. So
Oh,
you want to do a last minute shift in how we normally run things around here?
okay,
We
okay.
got
See
a
what
little
you're
bit of a Freaky Friday
trying.
or something going
All
on.
right, let's do it. All right, well,
Okay.
let's do it. What's on Drew's mind today?
Yeah. What is on Drew's mind?
What's on Drew's mind today, BJ, is the most clutch players in March Madness history.
All right.
Who comes to mind when you hear that?
Well, you know, there's quite a few guys that you could think of. Gordon Hayward would be like up top of the list if that half court shot against Duke in the national championship game in 2010 had gone in and Butler had won off of that. Like that was the most clutch shot I think I've ever seen, and it just did not fall in the basket. It rolled off the iron. But JJ Redick has been had his name up there. Christian Leitner, I think, is one of the most dominant players we've ever seen in terms of March Madness action. But I'm trying not to think of just Duke players. It's just they've been in the tournament quite a bit. Um, you know, when Anthony Davis led Kentucky to that national championship back about a decade ago now, I mean, he was pretty much a one man wrecking machine for that Kentucky squad.
Uh-huh. Well, hey, let's make it easier on you then. Let's not go
Okay,
so broad,
all
and
right,
let's do some of the most clutch players in March Madness since 2011.
okay,
How about that? Okay.
all right. I was
So,
gonna say there was a guy that hit a clutch shot um, against Kansas, uh, like Ali Farekmanish or something for Northern Iowa. It was a second round upset, but um, was it? Was it Chris Jenkins that hit the game-winning three-pointer in Villanova's win over North Carolina in the national championship?
yes, yes,
Is
in
he on this list?
2016. Yes, he is on this list. He is number 2 on
Okay.
this list, actually. Another person on this list, Shabazz Napier,
Mm-hmm.
at number 4
Yeah,
on this
Napier
list.
was a phenomenal player. Do we count Kimba Walker, Kyrie, or Cardiac Kimba, if you
Hey,
will?
there you go. He's number 1 on this list.
Heck yeah.
BJ,
That 2011
Cardiac
run that they
Kimba.
went on, where he helped them. They went 5 straight days with 5 straight wins in the Big East tournament, and then they did it all over again with 6 wins in a row in the NCAA tournament to win the title as a 3 seed.
Cardiac Kimba was born, and that deadly step back will
Mm-hmm.
run in everyone's mind for all eternity.
Yeah, that was the 2009 Big East quarters, I think, against Pittsburgh when that shot happened. Let's see. The Kentucky had the Harrison twins in their run to the national title in
They
2014.
they did.
Either one of them on
More
that list?
more so, it was Aaron
Mm-hmm.
Harrison, and it is in 2014. He came up clutch in not only one but 3 different
Yeah,
occasions
I
for
was about to say he
Kentucky.
was always hitting seemingly like a great shot near the buzzer or something.
Oh yeah, his back-to-back-to-back daggers against Louisville,
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, and Wisconsin helped the number
Yeah.
8 seed Wildcats reach the Natty.
Is Kyrie on the list? Kyrie was part of that run.
Kyrie is
That,
not on the
okay,
list.
I thought Kyrie may have been a part of that team that knocked out Wisconsin, who knocked out the undefeated Kentucky squad. I think that was 2015 ish, maybe.
I don't even know if Kyrie ended up playing in the tournament, did he? Because he
You
only
know,
played about 11 games that season.
that's right. I forgot he got injured that year. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was trying to think who would have been on that team.
One guy I'm surprised you haven't said, BJ. You mentioned his team, and we all actually kind of mentioned his team earlier. Who do you think I might be talking about? Let me give you one hint. Well, I mean, it's gonna give you the name probably.
Maybe.
So, do you want the hint or no?
I'll take the hint.
Virginia.
Oh man. Now I'm blanking on that team that won the national championship.
Ho ho ho.
I remember the run, but I just don't remember who was.
Kyle Guy.
Oh man, no, I wouldn't. I don't think I remember him honestly. Like,
The junior marksman connected on 5 3-pointers in the Elite Eight, finishing with 25 points to help the Cavaliers hold off Purdue despite 42 points from Carson Edwards, who is number 5 on this list.
yeah,
He
that
delivered.
Purdue and Purdue Virginia game was great. The Auburn game, I think they got away with a double dribble in that game.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't have
Oh,
even been there in the first place. But
and that's funny because that's mentioned in this next part. He delivered again the next weekend, knocking down go-ahead free throws in the closing seconds of a Final Four win against Auburn.
yeah,
Guy finished his career with 24 points in an overtime win over Texas Tech. Sorry, Tyler, to help Virginia win its first national championship.
Tyler was
And
more than thrilled when Virginia went down because he does not like Virginia after they knocked out Tech
and
in
they
that game.
haven't won a tournament game since.
Correct. Yeah, they were. I think they
They're
were in the
cursed
NIT.
now.
Yeah, they like we were talking about earlier. They're 3 losses in their last 4 tournament appearances in the first round, and the only time they didn't lose in the first round, they went all the way. But even then, that's not without some controversy, if you will.
Right,
Uh,
right.
but Tyler was definitely thrilled about it, and does not have great feelings for Virginia after that 2019 championship game. So that
Right.
was funny.
But
Let's see. I'm trying to think of other like classics. There was
okay, we haven't.
when North Carolina beat Gonzaga, they had a guy that was making some clutch shots. Is he on the list?
So we haven't made. We haven't. No, he's not actually.
Okay.
So we've gotten the top 6 nailed down. Who do you think 7 through 10 are? I'll give you the schools:
Okay.
Duke, Villanova, UNC, and Kentucky.
Dave Vincenzo, I would think is one of the
Nope.
Villanova guys. No.
Nope.
All right. So it's Duke, Villanova, and who?
UNC and Kentucky. So I'll give you the
Hmm.
Nova player. He used to be on our
Okay.
team.
All right.
Who's that, BJ?
Oh, Jalen Brunson.
Boom. Dylan Brunson,
I forget about him being a Villanova product.
2-time champ.
Yep, that's right. Um, let's see here. So the Duke team that went and won the national championship is
Mm-hmm.
this is was it a Singler brother?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, 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 no.
No, it wasn't a
It
Singler brother,
it was a brother that went
but it
to
was not a
Duke that had
Singler.
another brother that went to Duke.
Okay, so it wasn't the Singlers.
He's the Grizzlies' backup point guard. Tyus Jones.
Tyus Jones.
Tyus Jones.
Tyus Jones sounds good. I forgot that he was on
He's
that
number
team.
7 on this list.
Okay.
He uh, Duke Trailblazers made his 9 points in the second half of the 2015 Natty.
Mm-hmm.
Tyus Jones helped keep the Blue Devils afloat. However, the freshman's contribution steadily turned into a takeover as Duke pulled level, then ahead as Jones scored 19 of his 23 in the
In
second
the
half.
second half, that was a clutch performance indeed.
Jones put the
Um,
Blue Devils ahead for good with a difficult three. 3 of the 8 points he netted during the final 4+ minutes.
so Kentucky and North Carolina are the last two.
Mm-hmm.
Another Kentucky 2014 player,
2012.
2012. So it's not Anthony Davis.
Nope.
Hmm. They had some other guys on that team because that was the beginning of the one and done era. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm kind of drawn a blank as to who would have been the guy to step up and have those clutch shots.
Deron Lamb.
Deron Lamb. I hadn't heard his name in a while, Drew.
He
I'll tell
averaged
you that.
16 and a half points during the tournament that year. And he
Man.
knocked down 52% of his threes in that run. Shoo.
All right, and last but not least, the North Carolina player that is on here.
Marcus Page.
What's
Oh,
that?
oops. Never mind. Go ahead. Think.
I didn't hear you. I was trying to think because there was a guy that in that great game against Villanova, and then in the next year against Gonzaga, seemed like he was always hitting some clutch shots, but I cannot remember who. I can see him, but I can't think of his name.
Marcus Page.
Page, that's right,
Mm-hmm.
man. There's some clutch
Anyway,
athletes, man.
yeah, big time, and we're just we're nailing down what was the last 12 years, or technically 11 of tournament action.
Yeah.
Um, but you think back a little bit. You talked about the Leitners of the
Mm-hmm.
world. Another person that comes to mind would be Melo. 1 year in the
Mm-hmm.
tournament, one
03.
championship.
Yeah.
Yep, got recent retiree Bayheim his only title.
Mm-hmm.
So got big time players that have been through.
Joakim
Um,
Noah, Derrick Rose when they were
um,
Rose with Memphis and
Doug
Noah
McDermott.
with those Florida teams. Yeah, McDermott.
Hmm.
Let's see here. Uh, who? Golly. Was it Hashim Thabit for part of UConn's
The
teams that
beat.
made the run?
I think
I
so.
know
Yes.
there's yeah. So I mean, we could go a long time just trying to
Hmm.
think back on some other clutch players from
But
tournaments
yeah, that was
past.
what was on my mind today. I had somebody mention clutch players, and the first one I thought about was Kemba, and I was just like, man, there's been some guys that I had no idea who they are, just knocking down the biggest of shots over the years, and like, who are those guys? Some of these names I didn't recognize or remember. Um, Deron
Hmm.
Lamb, Marcus Page at the bottom there, because it's been
Yeah,
years. Like we were just in high school or just getting out by the time, uh, when those shots were going down. I was like, I don't remember those guys. It's been 10 years, but it's just it's cool to think about all the players who have been had made their careers on that stage. And if you want to translate that to the women's side, BJ, you can talk about Enrique Agumbawale's run.
oh
Those
yeah, the
those
back-to-back buzzer beaters.
yeah, back to
Yeah,
back buzzer beaters to get
here
to the
in
national
Dallas, right?
championship and win it.
No, that was Minneapolis. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It was a Mississippi State buzzer beater that ended UConn's like 111 game winning streak. That was here the last time that the women's tournament was in Dallas.
yeah, but that was one of the big time
Hmm.
shots. All the Maya Moore shots back in the
Yeah,
day when she was Stewie and her 4 championships, leading the way, being clutch, the clutch player that she is. Um, so, like I said, I mean, a lot of names that you could go through on both sides to highlight
absolutely.
some dominant and clutch players. But that is what's on Drew's mind, BJ.
Awesome stuff. Well, we'll get to BJ's best here in a second, Drew. But
We will, but we got
as
to
you
tell you
st-
about them people from DraftKings, eh?
mm-hmm.
Mm. If you're ready, underdogs like man, what was that team that we mentioned earlier?
Furman, Princeton.
Furman, Princeton, yeah. Yeah, Furman, Princeton, those guys, those underdogs that pull upsets, the unbelievable action and the madness of March from DraftKings Sportsbook, BJ. The
I
biggest
am.
tournament in college basketball. It's here. The action's happening literally right now. New customers like you can bet just $5 on this college hoops action and get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
That's right, Drew. Obviously, we talked about some games that we liked in the last episode for upsets. We got the first one at least, Furman over Virginia. I don't think either one of us would have been able to have the gumption to say that Princeton was going to take out Arizona in the first round. I've seen some that are bold enough to believe that Colgate has a shot tonight. So that's something to keep an eye on. That game will be tipping off here relatively soon as we record on a Thursday. But another game to keep your eye on is whoever Texas or Colgate would face in the second round. You've got another 7-10 matchup that should be just an absolute barn burner with Texas A&M and Penn State squaring off against each other. And then Tennessee and Louisiana will also be battling here in tonight's action. Lots of great matchups in store. Lots of great stuff tomorrow. You can look at no further than a possibility of an upset. I've been talking about it. I'm telling you, get that bet in on Drake over Miami. Miami is just a 2-point favorite. That by far is the closest of any 5-12 matchup in terms of the line that I've seen
Hmm.
so far. Duke was a like a 6-point favorite, if I'm not mistaken, before the game started. They were, and then San Diego State and Charleston. San Diego State was a 5.5-point favorite. So money seems to be flowing towards the Drake Bulldogs. Get your bets in now before that game tips off. tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, it is tomorrow evening. So that being said, you can use DraftKings. Here's what you do: you go to the app, you opt in, you place a no sweat bet for this weekend's action. And plus, for a limited time, all customers can score one of these no sweat bets. No sweat, Drew. If you are going to get your Final Four team busted in round one, you can make some money back if the bet doesn't hit with a bonus bet back up to $10 during the first two rounds of the tournament this weekend.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code TBPN.
TBPN.
New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Win or lose, only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TBPN.
Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. I know I normally have the segue here, Drew, but since we flipped it around,
It's
your
time
turn.
for PJ's Best.
Well, thank you, Drew. I appreciate it. I know we went a little bit different, but it's good to shake it up every now and again. I guess maybe shaking up your bracket was what inspired me today with those upsets. But Drew, you happen to know what tomorrow is besides the day that this podcast dropped on all your favorite platforms to listen to podcasts on?
St. Patty's.
It is indeed St. Patrick's Day, Drew, and I have found the ultimate list. And to show you how exclusive it is, it has come out today for
Ooh.
my eyes only.
Ooh.
This is the best cities in America to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in. Obviously, if you are living in Ireland, the whole country is a great place to spend the day and to celebrate to celebrate St. Patrick and his legacy. But if you are in America, or if you are in Canada, want to drive down to see some celebrations in American City this weekend, perhaps, look no further than this list. So, if you're ready, Drew, I've got the 15 best cities in America celebrate St. Patrick's Day in. Would you like me to start at the bottom or at the top?
The bottom, and can I ask if one of these cities is on the list?
You can. Which city do you want to know?
San Francisco.
San Francisco is on the list. It is. Let's see. Where was it?
You don't have to tell me where. I'll find out.
All right. I believe it at least. Yeah, it's on the list for sure. So
cool.
Starting at the bottom, number 15, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia St. Patrick's Day Parade started before the United States was even founded, before the colonies had signed their Declaration of Independence. It was first started back in 1771, the second oldest of any kind in the United States, only surpassed by a city I'm sure we'll be mentioning here later on in this list. More than 500,000 people don green costumes with a different theme each year in Philadelphia, including a decade of remembrance and bless the American worker that have been part of previous parade themes in the past. So Philadelphia on the list at 15.
Well, heck, BJ. I mean, you're Philadelphia Eagles fans. You just got to wear your jersey out.
Yeah,
you're safe.
exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
Golly.
It's almost like they took all that into when they decided upon the team's branding and identity, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, can't say the same for the Phillies, but
no, or the Sixers, or the Flyers for that matter.
Or the Flyers. They had to pick a favorite, so
there you go.
They went with football.
Unfortunately, St. Patrick couldn't lead the Eagles to a Super Bowl victory, but
dang, it had to be Nick Foles.
It had to be Nick Foles for whatever reason. Number 14 on the list, and it makes sense when you consider the name of this city. It's a city in Ohio called Dublin, obviously named for the capital of Ireland. Ohio's Dublin City St. Patrick Day celebration. The festivities began in the 1980s. They begin with a big pancake breakfast and an inflation celebration. So you can watch the parade floats come to life before your very eye. So after the parade is over, there's plenty of Celtic music to be heard, along with beer, Irish tea, and potato chowder. Hey. Sounds like a pretty darn good place to celebrate to me.
Potato chowder doesn't sound great, but it sounds like fun.
I think I don't think it's like clam chowder with potatoes in it. I think you can do like it could be more like potato soup, but
Yeah.
the texture is more chowdery, if you will, like more thick as opposed to like runny like soup can be. I don't know.
Creamy.
Okay, let's stop. Number 13. You are probably familiar with this place if you have watched a popular comedy that aired. Well, I mean, it aired for a long time ago, but it's still very popular to this day. Left Netflix for a new home on Peacock. The Office, with
Mm.
Scranton, Pennsylvania, coming in at 13th on the list.
Okay.
They all
Dang.
gather for a mass early on St. Patrick's Day morning. Then families line the streets of Scranton, as they have for over 50 years now, to watch the parade participants. The 2008 parade even featured former First Lady Hillary Clinton in attendance. So something to definitely keep an eye on if you are wanting to be in Pennsylvania, but not maybe in Philadelphia.
All right, give me a
Scranton.
stat. Give me a stat, BJ. How many of these on this list are in the same state?
Well, so let's see. Those
Definitely
are
those two for Philly.
Yeah, those two.
Or yeah.
We've got another state that's going to have a couple here in just a second. Another state. So there's three states that have two cities, but that I believe is it. So
Okay. I bet
those are the
one.
only two in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Next up on the list, it's a big party city in general, and if the festivities
San
for Mardi Gras
Marcos.
hadn't died,
Oh.
no, if the festivities for Mardi Gras haven't died down, you can celebrate St. Patrick's
Oh.
Day in New Orleans.
Okay.
An entire week of fun. The city claims to be the largest port of entry for Irish immigrants in the
Yeah.
southern United
They wear
States.
green
And
beads.
they do wear green beads, and they have one of the biggest celebrations for the Irish holiday. They've been doing it the same way every year since 1809 in the Big Easy. So you get to have a traditional Irish stew with ingredients such as potatoes, cabbages, carrots, and onions, along with, as you mentioned, the traditional beads and flowers are tossed to crowds for St. Patrick's Day. So a lot of good music and a lot of good times in store down in the Big Easy in New Orleans. So
Mm-hmm.
next up on the list is Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix has a lot of Irish spirit come St. Patrick's Day with their annual Irish Family Fair. Parade includes marching bands, bagpipes, Irish step dancers, floats, police fire vehicles, and the Arizona Irish Colleen with her court. So Phoenix making the list is kind of a little bit surprising.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm interested by that.
Hmm.
Next up on the list shouldn't be a surprise. Maybe where it's placed is a surprise. New York City.
Mm.
Yeah,
Really?
they're
It's
at
pretty
least
low. What number is
they're
this?
so let me count them again. Hold on. It comes in at number 10. New York City comes in at number 10.
Barely
Big
made the
Apple
top
hosts
10.
one of the oldest and one of the largest parades for St. Patrick's Day on the planet. A lot of Irish Catholic culture in New York. The first New York City St. Patrick's Day was introduced by Irish soldiers to the British Army in 1762, Drew.
Ooh,
Yeah,
dang.
long time ago.
Long time ago.
Next up at number 9, St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis
Mm.
holds another one of the country's best parades downtown at 18th and Market, working its way to Broadway and Market every year. And after the main event, the Irish Village offers delicious food and live performances. Special events held throughout the week, the entire week, with the Celtic Cross ceremony and the greening of the fountain. So something to keep an eye on if you are in St. Louis.
Mm.
Number 8, another city from Missouri, Kansas City.
Oh, right
So that's
beside
the
it, huh?
second state that has two cities in it. Kansas City celebrates all things Irish on St. Patrick's Day with one of the nation's largest parades, following a special Gaelic mass and led by a lone bagpiper. City has been celebrating the holiday since 1873, drawing a crowd of over 200,000 each year.
Mm.
Number 7, another southern city, Savannah, Georgia, comes in on the list.
Man.
Yeah, if you want some southern charm with your Irish holiday, Savannah hosts the second largest parade in the entire nation, Drew.
Ooh.
Celebrations kick off at the beginning of March, and the weekend nearest the holiday includes the city's biggest party of the year, the St. Patrick's Celebration on the River. Non-stop live entertainment, games, food, and beverages.
Was anybody keeping track of the fact that San Francisco is about to be top 5?
San Francisco is
Yeah.
not top 5 because it is number 7 right here after Savannah, Georgia.
Well,
Maybe famous for the Golden Gate Bridge, but also home to many Irish immigrants. And St. Patrick's
get
Day
them.
in San Francisco has had a parade for over 160 years. You're out?
Huh?
I thought you were saying that you were out because you didn't think it should be this high up.
Well, I'm not complaining.
Okay.
No
Next
complaints
up on
here.
the list, San Diego,
But it
California.
is
So
hot.
this is the last of
San
two
Diego, San
cities
Fran.
in the same state being on the list. So so nice climate for St. Patrick's Day, but still able to have the festivities. You can walk around and have all the kind of Borgish if you will, with adult beverages. San Diego covers 80,000 square feet of its city blocks with artificial green turf to kick off the day. So lots of room to walk around and have a really good time in San Diego this weekend.
Both Cali places made the top half.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that was in fact number 5. Number 4 is Denver, Colorado. Denver throws one of the largest parades west of the Mississippi. St. Patrick's Day Parade is the city's biggest annual parade, attracting nearly 250,000 viewers. Follows a circular route through the heart of Mile High City, and with over 10,000 marchers, floats, marching bands, dancers, and Irish-themed fun with a Western flair. So, lots of good stuff in Denver as well, Drew.
Interesting.
Number 3 on the list, Chicago, Illinois. They dye the Michigan River, I think, is what they or one of the lakes up there. Always dyed green, but they use a little. Initially looks orange, and then with some leprechaun magic, and their words, not mine. The river is transformed into a dramatic green, just like the hills of Ireland. So it's pretty sight to bestow upon with your eyes. So if you're in the Chicago area, tune in for the St. Patrick's Day festivities. You have a guess as to what the top 2 are by chance, Drew?
Oh man. Um. Have we said any places in Texas so far?
We have not, and there are
If
not any
not,
places in Texas on this list.
that's tough.
I know.
Um. Let's see. Let's go with Nashville.
Nashville is not number 2 on the list.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I didn't
Number
know where to go.
two, number 2 on the list is our nation's capital, Washington D.C.
Oh,
The nation's capital does it up big when it comes to St. Patrick's Day, hosting the legendary Shamrock Festival, all-day event featuring over 50 Irish bands, dancers, games, and all types of other activities. That's a 2.5-hour parade, Drew. That is
woo!
quite a long time to be
Yeah.
there watching a parade. But the only city that can top it, Drew, I'll give you one guess.
Damn. Hey, what's the guess?
I was saying you
Oh, I
get the
thought.
guess.
Oh, okay. I prefer one hint. How about that?
Okay, one hint: northeast.
Oh.
Had a couple already, but there's one city that we haven't mentioned that you feel like probably should be on this list.
Columbus, Ohio.
Not that, in fact, that's a little too far to the west. We're going even more to the northeast, Drew. Number 1 on the list, Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh yeah.
One of the
Ford.
world's biggest St. Patrick's Day celebrations began in Boston in 1901, but the celebration reportedly goes back 200 years prior to that. According to legend, the earliest celebration of the holiday in America took place in Boston in 1737 when colonists of Irish descent marked the event with a modest parade. Now it's the biggest celebration outside of Ireland, with more than 500,000 people coming to Boston for the holiday each year. So a lot of good stuff. You can watch the you can down your sorrows with some green beverages, listen to the Dropkick Murphys, and just have a good old St. Patrick's Day up there in Boston, Massachusetts.
Do you think they'll let them get away with drinking Heinekens? It's a green bottle. I don't know if it's a green beer.
I think Heineken is okay because isn't that a import from the? I know it's not from Ireland, but it is an import from Europe,
Yes.
from the Dutch, I believe, right?
Yes,
They could probably have it, but I think a lot of people are just going to have a stout with the green coloring
probably.
in their beer. So that's the best places you can go, Drew, according to our friends that put this list together. The
And
best
we're
cities in
nowhere
America.
near any of them.
No, not in the top 15. Now they didn't do anything top 20, but
No honorable mentions.
they didn't say honorable mention. So trips to discover is the is where you can find that list. So that is BJ's best, Drew. And
Nice.
now
I
it's
like
time to
that.
talk about the women's tournament.
It is indeed time for South Carolina to repeat.
You read my mind, Drew. I mean, it feels like, is anybody going to stop South Carolina in the women's tournament? So, seeing as that we both have them pulling off the run to their second straight and their third here in the past 5 or 6 seasons, um, what about teams that we think could knock them off? Let's just kind of go through and start with, who do you have South Carolina defeating in the national championship game? Who's that threat that you have to beat them potentially in that last game of the season?
Okay. In the Natty, I got South Carolina over UConn.
Great minds think alike, Drew. I also have the Huskies emerging from their part of the region to try to take down South Carolina. We get a national championship rematch from last year with the same result, unfortunately, for UConn at least. Now for South Carolina, they if they can win it again, they would be through the moon with that. Who else is in your Final Four along with South Carolina, UConn? Who'd you put in the Final Four with them?
I was gonna ask you that question. Um,
Well,
well,
we'll both tell.
facing
We'll both tell.
UConn, I've got LSU, and facing the Gamecocks, Longhorns.
Oh, okay. Well, you and I are not too far apart, Drew, because
Okay.
I also have LSU upsetting Indiana in the Greenville region to face UConn, but I don't have Texas in the Final Four out of the Seattle bracket.
If you have
I've got
Iowa, then I'm okay.
I have Iowa indeed.
That's okay. That's okay.
Caitlin Clark will take the
It's my
Hawkeyes this year.
favorite
The Lady
player
Hawk.
in college basketball right now. So
So we're pretty close with our picks for the Final Four. In the Greenville region in the Elite Eight, South Carolina, I have defeating Notre Dame. Who do you have for the Gamecocks to go through in that last
well,
part of the bracket?
I'll be a buddy here, BJ, and say you might want to change that because Olivia Miles is out for the season for
Mm,
Notre Dame, so that might hamper their little run that they possibly could have made. I've got
okay,
Arizona sneaking into Elite
really.
Eight to face Don Staley.
Arizona over Maryland and then over Notre Dame. Interesting, interesting stuff. Okay, I
I
would
don't
think
think
the
Notre
door.
Dame will make it that far anymore.
You think that they'll get? You think they'll get bounced?
They could. I don't know if
First
they'll.
round, or do you think they'll get through one game and then that will be where it kind of hurts them a bit?
I don't know. Um, I don't know about game one, but I see game two as a definite possibility in the round 32. I
Well,
don't
if
think they
they
get past the Sweet 16.
yeah, if they get Creighton in that second round, I can absolutely see what you're talking about here, Drew.
Because
We're
Creighton last
yeah,
year gave Iowa trouble.
Creighton went all the way to the Elite Eight, and that's where they, if I'm not mistaken, they were a 10 seed last year, Drew, and they got knocked out against South Carolina. It's funny that they might potentially have to go through them again in the Elite Eight, but they would have to get past a really good Maryland team that's the 2 seed in that region. Maryland, obviously, not the team that not one of the top two teams in the Big Ten this year, but the Big Ten had a lot of depth this season. Uh, and so it's going to be interesting. You've got teams like Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, and Maryland, Iowa that are, could get hot and go on that run at the right time to make a deep tournament run.
Hey, You never know what can happen in the madness of March, BJ.
Absolutely. Well, you already said you got Texas out of Seattle, which means that they take down Stanford at some point, which would be in the Sweet 16.
That's right.
Any other
Revenge.
surprises from that bracket, or is it setting up for those top four seeds, like you said, with Texas over Stanford, and then winner of Duke and Iowa getting them in the Elite Eight?
No real, nothing crazy. Um, the only thing spicy I got, I'd have to drop back to the round of 32. Actually, I
Mm-hmm.
don't really have anything spicy there, to be honest. It's pretty chalky. Only thing that's considered an upset, Washington State. I've got them over Nova in round two. Other than that, it's pretty chalky, and uh, all the upsets happening in the Greenville region with Arizona and Creighton.
Okay. I've got a couple of different upsets. In fact, that's a good point because I mean we're pretty much in lockstep when it comes to, I think you have LSU over Indiana out of the Greenville region,
I do.
and then UConn over Virginia Tech
I hold on.
down there in
UConn.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're pretty much we've got the
Wait, wait,
same
wait, 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 wait. No,
outside of
no, no, no,
Greenville.
no, 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 no,
No,
no. Wait, 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 wait. Yes, I do. I was in the wrong spot.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
UConn over Virginia Tech, LSU over Indiana. Yes.
sounds good. So looks like we've got pretty much the exact same outside of just a couple of little hiccups. But
Welcome.
let's go back to round one. Who looks like a likely, or where do you kind of see some, a little bit of an upset pick? Because I've got a couple, but I always try to look for more than just like one or two because you know that there's always seemingly going to be at least one per region. You're going to get a first round upset.
So of note, I only have one real double digit. I might change it up.
Okay.
Let me reevaluate some things for a second.
Okay.
Dum, 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 dum,
Because
dum,
I'm looking
dum,
at a
dum,
couple of prime
dum,
contenders that
dum,
we can discuss.
dum, dum, dum,
One of
dum,
which I think
dum, dum,
you'll disagree with me on.
dum, dum. Okay, I'm back.
But
Um,
okay,
so I've got 10 seed over, let's see, 10 seed Georgia over 7 seed Florida State in the Seattle
I do as
region.
well. That's a good pick.
And I
That's a good
have
pick. I've got that one.
11 seed UNLV over 6 seed Michigan in the Greenville region. 9
Okay,
seed South Dakota State over 8 seed USC in the Seattle 3 region.
I do have South
Uh,
Dakota State over USC as well.
I don't have anything critical. My wins bracket is actually pretty chalky this year, BJ. I got Marquette over South Florida, 9 over 8. Other than that, not a whole lot of double digit dubs. Um, I wouldn't know where to go to pass one off with the rest of these just because I don't think it's going to happen in Greenville really anywhere unless Notre Dame really is shaken up by the losses that they've had on their team and losing the first round. Um, everything else is kind of I don't know, but yeah, pretty chalky other
Yeah,
than those. So I really only got like a few upsets, not a whole lot of uh, a big time matchups getting shifted around here. So that's kind of where I'm at here. You got
yeah.
some more critical stuff happening though in that first round. What do you got?
I do have a couple of other ones. So I'm right there with you with a couple of those. With Georgia over Florida State, I've got Marquette over South Florida, as you mentioned, as well as I believe you said you had uh, South Dakota State over USC. So I
Correct.
have a couple of those as well. But I've got a couple that you might not have thought about. I'm going to look no further. You said Michigan over UNLV, and I think I disagree. But I can see two other possibilities in that Greenville 2 region that you didn't mention. You talked about Washington State or Villanova as your like second round upset. I think Florida Gulf Coast is going to upset Washington State in the first round. So it's not because Villanova going to lose to Washington State or anything like that. I've got Villanova over Florida Gulf Coast to get themselves into the Sweet 16. I'll also throw your way for consideration 10 seed Princeton over 7 seed NC State in that half of the bracket.
Mm.
I think that those are a little couple more likely. I do think UNLV has had a great season. I think that Michigan is going to be able to uh, you know, grind out a very close game. But I can understand your thought process with UNLV 31-2 this season. That is an insanely good record. Only one loss coming to Oklahoma State by a healthy margin. But I think that those are a couple as well to keep an eye on out there in Greenville too.
Okay.
And then
Um.
I'll give you one other one that I have here that I think we
Okay.
might disagree on. The only other one that I'm really predicting here and taking a swing with, I've got 11 seed Middle Tennessee over 6 seed Colorado up in
Oof.
Seattle 4.
Whoa. Whoa.
Middle
Whoa.
Tennessee plays
Whoa.
really good defense. They score the ball really well. 18-2 in the Conference USA this year. I think they'll be able to get it done.
Okay. How you feel, BJ?
That's how I feel. And I think I think I think a lot of people will probably kind of shrug that one off. But, I mean, I have been correct in the past couple of years. I won the tournament challenge 2 years ago. Obviously, I wasn't able
Oh,
to collect the prize.
the
But,
big dog.
yeah. But, I mean, that's what makes it fun is that, you never know what
Yeah.
is going to take place, and so it should be fun. Should be a good show of everything on the women's side of things. How many women's brackets did you fill out this year, Drew?
Two on both
Two,
sides of things.
two on both
Two,
sides. Okay.
yeah, two men's brackets, two women's brackets. I felt like I needed to make a spare one aside from the one that's in our lowdown bracket, like just for
Hmm.
me, and so it's
Anything
done all
crazy in
right.
that one?
No, I mean it's kind of split on both ends so far. Like some of the picks that I had in the one in our bracket, I deferred and like flip flopped on the next one. So like
Hmm.
some of those are just because I already picked it here picks,
Yeah.
but they're pretty even.
Okay.
82%. Both can get a max of at least 1850. The other one is 1870. So it's about in the middle of the pack with a lot of people who are just kind of average through it right now. Um,
Yeah.
BJ, do you think Caitlin Clark is really going to make it the furthest that she's gone in the tournament so far this year? Or will something go wrong?
I think so because the sad like the bad taste out of her from her mouth last year and the way that season ended, getting upset in the first round, and then seeing that team that could have been you if you'd won that game, making it all the way to the Elite Eight. I think that's kind of what's been part of her motivation, why she's been able to, I mean, obviously she's one of the best players in the game and in today's game, and just hitting some absurd, crazy shots that don't seem possible for anybody, men or women. There's been a really good comparison of her as being like the next Steph Curry or the female Steph Curry just because of her range. And I think that's very fair. But I think that's kind of the motivation you saw early in Steph's career. There was some early playoff losses that kind of seemed to spark him and motivate him, and that next step that Golden State took to winning those titles. I think this is kind of that next step for Caitlin Clark in Iowa. I think they'll make it to the Final Four, but they're not quite good enough, I think, to take that next step past South Carolina. And so I think that's where the run ends. But I like to watch out for them next year as one of my kind of teams I'll be watching with an eye on a national championship potentially.
Does South Carolina get any real trouble until the Elite Eight?
I mean, not in the first round. Marquette might be able to hang around for the first half, maybe into the third, but I really don't see that. If they get Maryland, I think they'll have some struggles. Like you said, that would be the Elite Eight. UCLA can be competitive, but I mean, you look at the matchups. Their defense, uh, they just don't stop teams from scoring enough, and they don't score enough points themselves to make me feel like they've got a chance to take down South Carolina. So I think they might have some challenges for a bit, but I really don't think they'll be having to grind out, all 4 quarters of victory until we get to the Elite Eight and further.
Do you think anybody's got an easier path to the Elite Eight than the Gamecocks? Or the number
Well,
one, the number one seed anyway of the number one seeds. So
uh,
Stanford, Virginia
yeah.
Tech, and Indiana.
Well, it's definitely not Stanford, since both you and I have them getting upset in the Sweet 16 against Texas. I think Indiana's got a pretty decent chance of having a good run to the Elite Eight, but that Villanova team is going to be pretty feisty. And then I think Virginia Tech, until they get to Tennessee, I really don't think they'll have too many things to worry about. South Dakota State might give them a little bit of an issue for a half or so, but I think that they'll be able um, to get past. So what's kind of the surprise team that you could see? Obviously, we're not predicting it because we've got pretty chalky brackets in terms of what we're expecting. But who is this year's Creighton or what's that lower seeded team that you think could pull an upset in the first weekend and make a run to the Elite Eight potentially?
Oof. I
Uh,
don't know if they'll make any Elite Eight runs. What did I have? I had Georgia as one of the teams. They
it
face
doesn't have to be
Iowa
a double
next.
digit. It doesn't have to be a double digit seed.
So like,
But you could be like a 7 or an 8 or
okay,
potentially like a 6 going to the Elite Eight by taking out a 2 per chaps or
I don't know if there are really any in on the women's side of things. Maybe a Baylor, seven
yeah.
seed
That's what
Baylor.
I was kind of that's who I was kind of looking at because they've been there before. But I mean,
Yeah,
especially with the way that last season ended, they'd have to go through UConn, and that's going to be a tough ask. But
yeah.
we'll see.
Other than that, I had Arizona going pretty far. So I mean, those
Mm,
two probably it. Both 7 seeds. So
yeah,
other than that,
I actually had
not
Missouri,
really.
I think, pulling off the upset over Arizona in the second round. So Princeton did them a favor in my book on the men's side of things.
Well,
Hey,
darn it.
after what happened to TCU last year and how the officiating gypped them in that game against Arizona, I say good riddance. Arizona hadn't won a tournament game since that game last year against us.
Yeah. Hey, make sure you're prepared for your second chance bracket when that time comes.
Oh
You gotta
yeah,
get at
we're gonna
least
need
one pick right this year.
we're gonna need it. We're gonna need it. I think
For
my
sure.
second chance women's bracket was pretty good last year.
Yeah.
The second chance men's was so,
Uh,
but oh well. But that is a good look at the women's side of things, Drew. I mean, we're both pretty lockstep that South Carolina should be expected to be the favorites to repeat.
if anyone could win it that's not the Gamecocks, who you got?
I think UConn. I think UConn's got they got Fudd back. They're not going to get Beckers obviously, but I think they've been really good all year. I don't think I can see Iowa getting past South Carolina in the Final Four. If they could, I think Caitlin Clark could lead them to that national championship victory. But I think the best team that is well positioned to do so is UConn.
I'm gonna go Longhorns full on bias this year. Longhorns winning it in both the men's and women's.
All right. Well, I think we can
But
already begin the game of with it or quit it because I had a question. I had a
oh,
question ready for you that I didn't think you were going to address or have with you in your bracket. But if you're ready, we can play a quick round here of with it or quit it tournament edition.
let's do it. Tournament edition.
Okay. So on the women's side of things, I think I already know the answer, but you can
Yep.
go ahead and just remind me. The
Okay.
Texas Longhorn women will be the first team seeded 4 or higher, which is 4 through 16, to reach the Final Four since 2016 when Syracuse and Washington both did it. Are you with it or are you gonna quit it?
I'm with it, baby. Longhorns
Absolutely. If he's
taking
got it,
down Stanford to get their
if he's
revenge
got it
from
in his
last
bracket,
year.
folks, he's pretty much with it. I think so.
Yeah, revenge from last year.
All right, Drew. Number 2 on the men's side of things. We saw this just earlier today when Princeton took out Arizona. But Drew, Princeton is not done. They're going to fly like the Peacocks of St. Peter's did last year, and
Stop
they're
it.
going to make it to the Sweet 16. Are you with it, or are you going to quit it?
Who are they playing again?
They'll play Missouri.
Ooh. Mm. Missouri had Kobe Brown, right?
Yes.
No, they're not. Quit it.
Quit it. Yeah, I
Go-
I'm right there. I'm right there with you, but just had to see if you thought that the magical
I
run
almost did it.
you almost did. Cinderella
I
the
thought about it.
slipper may still fit.
I thought about it.
Well, okay. Number 3, Drew. We're going back to the women's side.
Okay.
I went women, men, women, men, women
Okay.
in that order. So the women's side of things. I think I already know the answer to this question as well. But
Okay.
Drew,
Okay.
there will be 2 or more double-digit seeds that reach the Sweet 16 for the second year in a row. With it or quit it.
2 double-digit seeds that make the Sweet 16. Let
Yeah,
me see.
last year
Did I do it?
we saw I believe it was Marquette when they took out Baylor and Creighton obviously that made the run all the way to the Elite 8.
Let me double check myself. See if I had it in my bracket or not. You said 2 double-digit teams make it to the Sweet 16.
At 2 or more. Yeah.
Oh, quit it. Yeah, I don't have any.
But you don't have any?
Nope.
Well, that might
Lowest.
be something you need to change. Maybe that Georgia
Oh.
team. Maybe.
Nah,
Maybe
I don't have faith in the Georgia Bulldogs and women's
in the
basketball.
second round. Yeah. Well, the women's basketball team seems to be doing better than the men's. So
Oh
obviously
well,
both
yeah,
are.
the Bulldogs, the men's Bulldogs stink.
Well, they were above 500 this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Are they in the tournament?
No,
Mm.
but I mean, when you compare to what the football team has been able to do, I mean,
Hey,
everything's going to
we're not
pale in
doing that
comparison.
because we
I
know
know
we wouldn't
exactly,
stand a chance.
exactly. All
All
right,
right.
Drew, number 4. Going to go back to the men's side of things, and a NCAA tournament Cinderella team. Think Princeton, think Furman, think anybody else that might be able to pull off an upset or two in the tournament. You're going to see a player from one of those teams have their draft stock rise because they're making a Cinderella run in the tournament. Are you with it or are you going to quit it?
For sure, with it, that happens all the time. There's gonna be somebody that makes their name known in the tournament, or I mean, it could be a top player that just shows that he's an elite player in the tournament. I mean, like you could definitely say that Jalen Brunson's draft stock rose in the tournaments
Mm,
both years that
from
they
Villanova.
they
Yeah.
won the championship. Yeah, averaging 16-4 in the tournament and doing what he did for sure. Yeah, I think because it can happen to a role player or a star player or a
Yeah.
superstar player. I think that can happen to anybody in March Madness.
Sounds good. So 2 with it's, 2 quit it's. Number 5 will decide who gets the edge here in this
Hmm.
edition of With It or Quit It. And
Okay,
Drew, back to the women's side of things.
back to him.
For the 4th time since the 2019 tournament, we're going to see a region where all of the higher seeds avoid a first round upset. So we're talking complete shock in one region for the first round on the women's side of things. Are you with it or are you going to quit it?
Okay, read that back to me.
Okay. So we're in the women's tournament. At
Mhm.
least one region will have all of the higher seeds win their first round matchup. So no upsets in at least one region. Are you with it or are you going to quit it? Meaning like 1 through 8 are the like the seeds that are higher in this case. The ones that you'd expect, the favorites. No
Well,
upsets in at
I
least
went.
one region.
Well, I went back. Well, if I'm actually changing that pick to go with Georgia in
Hmm.
the first round, then that means no.
Then no. Okay.
It means every one of them sees at least one in the first round from me. So
Okay.
it's the South Dakota State one in the Seattle 3, UNLV in Greenville, Georgia in Seattle 4, and Marquette in Greenville 1.
Okay.
So
So
no.
he's got so quit it. Quidditch will
What?
take the
What?
round 3 to 2. And that is it for With It or Quit It. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show for this evening.
Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you rate and review the podcast over on Apple. You can also just rate it on Spotify. They don't have reviews available, but rate and
Hmm.
review on Spotify. It is available. It helps us, pop out and be more available and be more visible to everyone on the platform, and especially in sports. When y'all rate and review, gets more eyes on us to get more listeners. So we appreciate that, and we want your honest reviews anyway of what you think about the show. As well as point you in the direction of some merch. BJ's got it on right now from T Public, ladies and gentlemen. T Public sales off and on all the time. You've got a deal either way when you get online. You can either get online when the sale is going site wide at 30 to 35% off, or when there's no sales going on, you get free shipping opportunities when you have orders that are $80 or more. So you get your mass order, you get free shipping on it all, or you get a sale on your normal merchandise and just have to pay the shipping. It's just what it is. You win when you get a sale, or you get free shipping. Cool things happening from our people at T Public all the time. But get over there and get that Lowdown merch. Recently retired that Lowdown notebook. Still got to get me a new one. Might as well get one from T Public. Got to wait on that to come
Absolutely.
in. And yeah, be on the lookout for the prizes for our March Madness tournament. Our brackets challenge, men's obviously has already started. Women's begins tomorrow, so you can listen if you're listening to this super early, just before the games begin. Then
Still
awesome,
got
you
time to join.
yeah, like you listen to this thing first thing in the morning. Awesome, as soon as it drops.
Hmm. On your way to
Um,
work.
right, and you got so y'all have time if you're watching live. You got the rest of the night into tomorrow morning. And
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying. So you've got time to get in on the women's. If you're in on the men's, shout out to you. May the odds be in your favor. But coming in here, have some fun. Make sure you're following us on our social medias, though, for sure. We're not just going to give prize to some random person who doesn't even follow us or doesn't listen. So um, and especially like I did see some names that I recognized in there from
Hmm.
last year as well, some returners. The guy that won it is actually back, so I hope he doesn't beat us again.
Me
but
either.
but yeah, it's always a good time. We love making these brackets and playing these games with you guys. And
Absolutely.
um, BJ's
And
got something to tell you about T Pub.
well, I've got something to tell you about Fanatics, Drew, and the clock is
Oh my
ticking
gosh, why did I say T Public? I'm sorry.
because you were talking about T Public. It's all good though. The clock is ticking, but you still got time if you are listening live to get over to Fanatics and get you a 24-hour sale up to 65% off site wide in honor of St. Patrick's Day by using promo code Clover, Clover. That is Clover. You can get your Road to the Final Four shirts for March Madness for the men's side going to Houston, and then of course if you're coming to Dallas for the 2023 Women's Final Four, that would be awesome. We'd love to see. Maybe we can try to get a booth or something over there
Oh man.
one day that weekend. I mean, maybe it's gonna be it's gonna be pretty pricey, but don't worry, you can rep the merch either way. NFL season just kicked off. There's already some new faces with some new jerseys. You want to get yourself a Derek Carr New Orleans Saints jersey, maybe a DJ Moore Chicago Bears, or at least what's heavily rumored to be Aaron Rodgers New York Jets jersey. That is
Mm.
going to take some getting used to. I will
Woo.
say that.
Yeah.
But you can get all of that. You can get. In fact, there's a new collaboration with Stone Cold Steve Austin and
Ooh.
Major League Baseball. You can celebrate March 16th with your favorite MLB team. So you get Rangers 316, Astros 316, whatever that may be. You can find that all on Fanatics Basketball. NBA playoffs going to start here in about a month or so. NHL right along the same. So get some merch, rep your favorite teams. Find it all the way over at Fanatics. Check the link in our bio. You can get yourself a good sale going on for the time being, Drew.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're following us on those social media sites right above BJ there at the _lowdown. That's THA _lowdown on Twitch, TikTok, YouTube. Twitter and Instagram, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate everybody that came in today. Shout out again to Coach Tripp that came through, and that is going to be the co-host along with Tyler for the Lowdown College Basketball. So be on the lookout for their shows coming up very soon. Of course, at the end of this first round, they plan to come back again, and hopefully soon they will have their own things that you can follow them on. Aside from their personal accounts, but right now, go follow them on their personal accounts, Tyler and Coach Tripp. So appreciate you guys once again tuning in, and this has been another edition of the Low Down Sports Show.